Maybe. Okay. Welcome to How to Be Friends with Dave and Shawn. You may have noticed you don't see me yet because I needed to make sure that my friend got the point that I'm doing my part to stop the spread. Governor Jay Inslee has mandated that everyone in the state of Washington wear their masks again because it worked really well the first time. So I'm doing my part by wearing my mask in my own house.
Good for you.
This is how I make myself feel like a better person who's doing something by putting a friggin' rag on my face. Round two. I can't do that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, okay. So for real, welcome to How to Be Friends with Dave and Shawn. And for real, I'm super salty about the masks again. We are in an abusive relationship with our government. I said it.
Okay. I didn't have a problem with them the first time. I don't have a problem with them the second time. It's just a fucking mask. I don't care.
Let me ask. Okay, let me reframe this in your world stuff. All right, so someone says you have to put a particular brand of battery in your car to prevent it from dying, right? Okay, so you put it in and the car dies. So they're like, okay, so this didn't work, so go ahead and use whatever brand that they want, right?
Okay.
And then 6 months down the road, they're like, no, you're going to have to use that brand of battery again. How do you feel about that?
Did it cost me any money out of pocket? Or were
Yes.
It did? How much?
Apparently $1 at the gym, but that's not the point. The point is,
yeah, I really don't have a problem with that.
Now you're just being facetious.
No, it's $1. I don't.
No, it didn't work the first time. It's what's the definition of insanity, Shawn?
Trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Thank you. Instead,
I personally just don't give a shit. Like, it's not at the top of my list of things I care about.
That's fair.
It's just
that's fair.
I don't. It doesn't impact me at all.
And that's
it literally goes around
my
ears, and I do everything the same way I did it before. People act like it's some fucking like they're putting a ball and chain on their leg when most people are not physically fit enough to care about the additional airflow resistance that it offers. Like when I go running tonight, I'm not going to wear one. That's
right.
That would suck.
And that's part of what pisses me off. What really pisses me off is that we took the mask off at the gym and it's fine and dandy. Nobody cared. Nobody had any problems. There were no super spread. Nobody came out and said, oh my God, variants are spreading at the gym. I go to the gym today. They're like, they wouldn't let me walk in the door without a mask on. They're like, you have to put your mask on before you came in. And I was there 3 days ago. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. My solution is I don't go to the gym. I run outside.
I prefer that, but I do not get faster if I don't do the treadmill. I have to keep setting the time higher. I have to put up.
Okay. So you're one of those where it's like I need the machine to make me go harder.
Correct. I am not.
Okay. And I'm not making fun of you. A lot of people are like that. Like, I cannot physically run harder on a flat surface.
Yeah.
I need the machine to challenge me. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally, I also find running on a treadmill. I used to run on a treadmill way back in the day, and I thought that was great because my time on a treadmill was great. But the problem is because the impact is different. Like, as soon as I would try to run on concrete, my knees were like, we want nothing to do with this.
No, that's correct. The moral of the story is that you are the Rocky Balboa to my Ivan Drago a la Rocky 4. You're out there in the tundra pulling sleds while I'm hooked up to an ECG in
I'm sure if I could afford a gym membership, I'd go to the gym, but it's hard enough for me to want to run anyways. Let me explain to people what that means. A lot of people run because they get a runner's high, and a lot of people run because like they enjoy it. And I run because I heard somewhere that you have to do one thing a day you hate to appreciate the things in life that you enjoy. And for
That's
me, that
true.
thing is running. I hate running. I absolutely hate it. I'm not going to pay extra money every month to go to a place to do something I hate.
That's fair. Shawn, I have a lot of stuff.
Does it involve the ammo ban?
The Animo band. I don't even know where
Ammo
to.
ban.
No,
No?
I don't even know.
You
No.
don't know about that?
Tell me
Hey,
about the ammo
something
ban.
David doesn't know about. Biden banned all ammunition made in Russia, which is probably about 15% of the market. So good luck.
So what you're telling
Prices
me,
were just coming down and they're going to go right back up. No
I
Russian
can no
manufactured
longer.
ammunition.
So I can't go buy my crappy friggin' tin casing tool ammo friggin' Russian reloads anymore.
Right, but even a lot of the decent mid-price ammo comes out of Russia. It's just going to force the prices of everything right back up again.
Yeah, it will. It is upsetting in the regard that I do need to get out and shoot. I do need to practice. I do need to train.
At 80 cents a round to train with a rifle? No, thank you. I can't afford that.
And that's even a good
afford
price
that.
right now.
Yeah. I've been able to find 9mm online for like 40 cents a round, but that's if you buy a 500 round box, and that's a lot of money right now. You're talking $250 out of pocket.
I don't have $500. All I have right now laying around is debt. I'm about to pass pharmacology after all, so at least the debt.
Oh, that's
debt is
good. Yeah, I'm in debt
constructive.
to a lot of people, including you.
God. Okay, take care of the guys who are going to break their.
I think with my plan, I'll be able to solve that issue in the next 2 years.
If you plan, yes, I hope your plan works out. I'm also totally okay with us being a couple of like chewed up old farts sitting on a porch somewhere, and you being like, "David, I promise I'll pay you back."
Hey, just keep in mind, the money I still owe you is money your ex-wife didn't get. The money is a long-term divorce savings account.
Fact. Oh, totally valid. I don't even know where to start. Okay, here's what I'm going to start with. You've probably already heard of this, but our fans may not have, and I think this is important. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. All right, let's see if you got this news.
Yes, I saw that. Nudity is still okay. That is like what was the art website that banned nudity or whatever? That completely went under. I can't even remember their name now. They're like,
bunch of those.
No more nudity. Yeah, OnlyFans shot itself in the foot, but I always forget this because we do video. People might be listening to it. OnlyFans, which is a website devoted to people getting paid money to do sexy stuff, has banned sexual content. You can still be nude, but you can't do things like stick your penis into a fruit roll-up. So they essentially have shot themselves in the foot, but luckily there's like 6 other websites that have already jumped in to take their place. And they did this because why, David?
Because of their advertisers for some reason.
No, it's their banking partners.
Right. Yeah. People are like, oh, we can't. Like Texas, for example, I think is introducing a bill to make it a felony to pay someone for sex. There's like this
And in Las
creeping
Vegas, we call that
Puritanism.
Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah.
If you drive 45 minutes that way, it's totes legal. Yeah.
I'm just
Corrupt Nevada.
jealous that people. Why do you what this? Are
I'm
we
trying to get a good
ASMRing?
fart out before I put it away. So hard to make.
Jake the dogging this episode, which is great. Too good. Okay,
which
so
just goes to
the...
show you that your freedoms are always limited by the private corporations that secretly run your life. Like OnlyFans just wants to run a business, but the banking market says no.
You probably heard as well. Part of the reason that I'm making fun of the mandates and so forth, New Zealand. I'll put it on the screen just so you know I'm not making this up. New Zealand shut down their entire country.
Okay.
After a single case of coronavirus was found.
All right. And in a month, they'll go back to doing what they were doing and they'll have no coronavirus.
They'll go from their 1 case to 0 case. So you find a spider and you burn your house down. That's... How about you take that one case?
You find a spider and you burn your house down. You find a spider and you put a tent over the house and you gas the house.
With the spider in it. The one.
Yeah.
If they had done that with the one person.
And it's New Zealand. Do you think their economy shutting down for a month is going to be affected? They're going to support... No, they're going to support their people. They're not just going to shut it down and go, screw you and the rent you need to pay. New Zealand's probably going to do it, correctly.
No. I refute your claim. Actually, this came up with one of my patients when the complaint of gas prices came along. I was like, oh, gas prices, that's blah, 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 right? And one of my patients was like, everything's getting expensive. It's like, yeah, inflation. Gee, I wonder what caused that. Maybe throwing bricks of cash at people with no underlying justification whatsoever.
You've been to New Zealand, man. What did they really shut down? Like 4 supermarkets? Like,
I have been to New Zealand.
That country's like 97% sheep.
You're kind of right.
There's 97% sheep. Weta Workshop. A few places where they filmed some shit for Lord of the Rings.
No, that's gone.
3 gas stations.
Yeah. No, they actually got rid of the Hobbit stuff, which is remarkable because that was their claim to fame. That was it. That's my New Zealand friends. Friend, if you're listening, New Zealand is beautiful. New Zealand is wonderful. I'd love to go back. But I guess it's still not a world stage player. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to get into some really fun stuff here.
Okay.
All right. I want your opinion on this, and then we're going to get really bonkers. All right.
Okay.
You probably haven't heard about this because you have to be a fanboy like me to have heard about this. Can you explain any logic behind this, Shawn?
Actually, no, I did read about this, and there is no logic between it because originally the Mitsubishi Delicas were being registered as vehicles. They were imported after 25 years, as is law. New vehicles that are not sold in the United States cannot be imported and registered in the United States until they reach their 25-year mark, in which case that can be imported kind of like as a curiosity collector car. However, according to Maine, because of the size of the engine, because these are K cars.
They're not, but
no. They're classifying them technically as a K car, even though they weren't. They actually have a larger engine size than K cars did.
Yeah.
However, Maine says that they fall into the ATV category, or all-terrain vehicle
Yes.
and are not a road
Yes.
legal vehicle. And so apparently they just decided to cancel a bunch of registrations.
Which is for those of you who don't know, there is mass appeal. And Mitsubishi isn't the only company that makes things like this. Toyota makes a really good one. I think Honda makes a good one as well. But these things are tons of fun for people because it's a minivan with ground clearance, four-wheel drive, and a diesel engine. It's
Yeah. I mean,
it's great.
they're really cool little rigs. I mean, if I could find one myself, I would own one in a heartbeat. I think they're really cool. But apparently Maine was just like, nah, it's an ATV.
Now, okay, speaking of, Shawn, I'm really enjoying. I'm going to continue shopping for you each episode. I'm really enjoying this. Okay.
Yeah.
I looked up the definition of a K car.
Okay.
It's changed throughout the years, but so our audience knows, a K car is a sub compact class of cars made in Japan.
Right.
That has to be like less than 1,400 pounds, less than 12 feet long, less than 5 feet wide, and a displacement of less than 0.66 liters.
Right.
That being said, Shawn, I have a lot.
And that's when David froze. And we lost him forever. Notice you can't hear him or see him.
Boots up.
There he is. There he is.
There it comes. I don't know how we pronounce this. Boeki? Boeki, USA?
I've seen these things, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, these are the little used trucks they import, right?
Okay. Yeah. People have seen the tiny used trucks and they're great. But look at this thing.
Oh my God, I know they're adorable, dude.
Look at this thing. It's the tiniest. It actually seats 6 in this tiny thing.
There must be a delay because I can't see what you're seeing. I see nothing that seats 6. But what I will tell you right now is, like, if I had a couple of acres of like farm or ranch, I would definitely buy one of these for moving hay bales and equipment and stuff. They're awesome.
This is going to be my next gambler, without question.
Yeah. So this company specifically just imports and sells these.
Yeah, I'm going to try to
That's cool.
Present.
Boeki?
The links in the notes for you and for any of your fans interested. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But there's a side-by-side interior on the seats there on the far left.
Oh my God, it's
cute. It is so adorable. Right side driving.
What's the cost on that?
I think this one is $9,000.
I'll say I think that's awesome.
I would absolutely.
My only concern with vehicles like that is I don't know. Okay, see, that's a 95 Honda mid-engine. Does it say what the size of the engine is? No.
Yep, 660 cc, the maximum size you can have on a K car.
13.9, Jesus.
There was another one for 9 I was looking at.
Yeah. My only concern with buying anything like this would be like parts availability. But I mean, if you were able to get parts, yeah, heck yeah.
Absolutely. Subaru Sambar. Look at how tall and weird that thing is.
I know, it's adorable.
The gigantic window in the back.
Because honestly, listen, for somebody like me, and I had a Suzuki, like the 2-door green. Do you remember that thing?
Yeah, that you rhino lined it.
Yeah, I rhino on the edges, and I used to commute that back and forth, and it got great mileage, and it was super reliable. And honestly, it's all you need for a daily commute, and it was a great little car. If I could have a little car like that nowadays, I absolutely would. The problem is, depending on the size of your family and what you need to do with it.
believe you could get parts for those. And 6 to 8 weeks later, when they arrive from a drop ship in Japan, you can finally repair your car.
I'm going to be honest with you right now. We know a guy who imported a right-hand drive 4Runner.
Uh-huh.
He has had a nightmare finding parts for that, and that is a very common truck. Because the
Mm.
U.S. market just isn't there for it. It's not like you can't go into your local auto parts store and be like, I need parts for this, because in a lot of those, they use different engines in different countries.
If that same dealership also has a line on parts and service, man, I'd be sold, hands down, without question. Okay, I still have a bunch of other stuff for you. Okay, where to go from here? For those of you in Ohio, congratulations. Bengals fans drink the most during football games among all football teams. I know that you don't get down on the football, but Shawn,
It doesn't surprise me. Most depressed people drink a lot.
but the same survey said that they don't hold their alcohol as well as other fans. So that's kind of sad. Okay, so let me see if I can do this. Okay, I'm a big comic book nerd here. Um, Batman never killed anyone, right?
I thought he killed the Joker in The Killing Joke.
Which was like non-canon, right?
I don't know if that's canon or not. Is that like? Are we talking about like the fucking 3 Star Wars universes that exist now? Thanks
Oh
to J.J.
gosh.
Abrams.
Okay. So for those of us who are
Or Star
this is
Trek
for our
universe. I
DC.
meant Star Trek universe. Because in the Star Trek universe,
We have 3 different ones now. Okay, so
in the Star Trek timeline, there's say what you're saying, and then I'll go into it. Yeah.
okay. So for our fans, marvel at the beauty, which is Batman's first appearance and his ghastly first costume. It was gross. And how similar the death of his first villain was to the Jack Nicholson and Joker death and all sorts of other stuff. So, my question is this, Shawn. If you punch a guy so hard, you knock him off a railing into a vat of acid,
Yes.
murder or manslaughter?
I'm going to go with murder.
Murder. Mm-hmm. So with that, Batman broke his first tenant with his first appearance.
Yeah.
Fanboys, I'm sorry. Ben Affleck's a dick.
Anyways, I was telling you about the Kelvin timeline.
Kelvin, golly. Yes. We went deep, nerd. Someone out there who watches this podcast,
for the last minute and 20 seconds, they've been screaming, Kelvin! It's the Kelvin! The Kelvin timeline! Kelvin!
That needs to not happen. Okay. Last thing I think I have here. Shawn, if you start making cars,
yes,
how many times do you let them catch fire?
Ooh, man, depends on the company. If you're Ford, you just keep letting it go. Like you just keep going. You just
okay.
This one catches fire. Let's see. With Ford, it was the Pinto, and then the Crown Victoria, and then the Explorer, and I don't know what they're on now. The
Apparently,
the Bolt EVs doesn't surprise me at
right?
all.
And apparently, other vehicles are having challenges as well.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Tesla went through the same problem,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, here we have it. General Motors, Hyundai, which surprised me, Ford.
Hyundai should not surprise you. The electrical problems that Hyundais have should not surprise you.
Didn't know that.
Hyundais and
But
Kias are renowned for having electrical issues.
Colonel Dad, if you're watching, there you have it. That's why your Hyundais are cheaper than comparable cars.
Yeah, if you want a car that will eat light bulbs because of just bad wiring, get a Hyundai.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've talked about before in the podcast how I don't think electric cars are really going to save the planet because once again, when you start mining lithium for 300 million cars out there, we're going to strip the hell out of the planet, right?
You're gonna you're gonna dig more holes and then you plant trees if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's move forward with this. Okay.
Like electric cars are a great concept. The problem is energy storage that we have right now really doesn't support an entire world based on electric cars.
No. I like the idea of a grid situation. I really do. We had trolley cars.
Like the modern trolley car, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Like wireless charging under the streets. I mean, the infrastructure would cost
Bazonkers.
bazillions of dollars, but yeah, that'd be awesome.
But it wouldn't catch fire as much. So
nope, just a lot of testicular cancer.
So I've said before, if you want to save the planet with your transportation, you really need to look into either A, like riding a damn bike,
right, or B, a more fuel efficient vehicle.
Or right, getting a more fuel efficient vehicle that costs less materials, for example.
Right.
I've got a friend right now who had to rent a Hyundai Elantra, which hopefully the revelation of their bad electricity will dissuade her from purchasing it. It's a nice little car. It's a peppy little thing. It gets 43 miles to the gallon on the highway.
Yeah. Yeah. The turbos are fantastic. I mean, honestly, small engines with turbos are better, would do more for the environment at this point than electric vehicles would.
Especially with our turn to CVTs. I said it before and I'll say it again. The continuously variable transmission seems specifically designed for a turbocharged engine. And yet it's like not a lot of people are doing that, which is weird. But to get back to the point. So, you buy yourself I'll tout it again, a 2,000-pound Mitsubishi Mirage with a 3-cylinder engine. You're saving the planet better than a 4,000-pound Prius with an electric battery in it. That's just the reality of it.
I 100% agree, yes.
And in conjunction with that, how much carbon emissions are created from a single electric car catching fire?
I would assume a lot. I would assume your carbon offset goes through the roof with that.
So every time you buy an electric car, I want your opinion on this though, John.
Yes.
Okay, so we covered that. This transitions to I think my very last thing, and then we can just gab about whatever. Okay, I want your opinion as to whether or not this can be cool. And so what we're talking about is eventually we do have to move on to a generation of electric cars that can compete with Teslas.
Yeah. I mean,
is there any hope? And be objective about this. Taking a family mover, sticking a couple of electric engines in it, tuning up the engine, and making something that harkens to the greatness that was the Evo.
no.
Yeah.
No, there's just not. There's not. The electric batteries just, or the batteries just completely throw the thing off. It's, I have a big problem with creating a very hard to sustain technology to save the planet when there's really not even recycling systems in place for those batteries and stuff. Like, I don't, it just, it's very wasteful.
We need a nuclear powered car.
Oh, yeah, or a nuclear powered airplane. That worked out well. You know.
How about a steam powered whirligig?
There you go. I like that. Is that a sex toy?
It might be.
It sounds like a 1920s sex toy.
I just feel like
Seems like something a doctor would prescribe a woman in the 1920s for depression. You need a steam-powered whirligig.
because there wasn't enough cocaine going around for their fellas to satisfy them.
I prescribe you a vibrator and cocaine.
Which, to be fair, I apologize, Mom and Dad, if you're listening to this episode.
You know what? One or both of those would probably be good for my depression. I don't.
When we talk about holistic patient care and considering all things that might ameliorate the state of your patient, I mean, why aren't we considering it?
There weren't a lot of options back then. You could get cocaine, a vibrator, or you'd go to the nut house if you're a woman. So, I mean, it's
valid.
Yeah, like,
and
that was medical help. I don't understand why my wife's depressed. She's at home doing laundry and cooking every day, and I beat her every night. Like,
well, let's start with that.
And then the doctor was like, "You're absolutely right. She should be 100% happy. Let's put her in an asylum. Give her a lobotomy."
When we talk about the crap that happened throughout society, why do we not bring that up more? Oh, Ireland, I'm looking at you.
I don't know. I was talking to my friend today, and I was like, I don't know. I was on a tear today. I got really angry about the idea, once again, of normalizing obesity because of the body positivity movement. And it was just me and him, and I was just screaming. I was like, I can't embrace your ideology because I can't get my arms around you. I was just so angry about it. I don't know. And it's mainly because we had a little text interaction the other day about doing the math on COVID. And the fact that heart disease last year killed twice as many people as every COVID-related death. And when I say related, I mean like died in car accident, also tested positive for COVID, right? So you're looking at 375,000 deaths that were COVID-19 related, and like 660,000 related to heart disease. Right. And then you have COPD that was like 400,000. So we still have more people dying of obesity than a virus. But let's be body positive.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to be. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound like a dick. Listen, if you want to be fat, that's your choice. But don't try to make it a movement where it's like okay, and these are not both the same thing, but it's the same way I feel about a pedophile who's trying to normalize pedophilia.
Yeah.
And wants it to be accepted. And an obese person who's trying to normalize obesity. Listen, I get those aren't the same things,
Right.
But just because you feel a certain way about something doesn't mean everybody else needs to accept it. If anything, I feel you should pay more on your insurance premiums because you cost the healthcare system more on average.
Mm-hmm.
So stop whining about toilets that don't fit. Stop whining about cars you can't get into. Stop whining about having to pay for 2 airline seats. I'm sorry, but let's stop trying to normalize that. You treating yourself like garbage is not something I should have to socially accept.
Correct. Which goes with a lot of things. We really, really need to get back to living in a world. In all seriousness, we've got a lot of very interesting things in society that are worth exploration, honestly. But we need to mitigate that with, all right, live your life whatever the hell way you want, but don't impose it upon others.
Yeah, thank you. And then, like, listen. Just because you have the ability to say it doesn't mean everybody needs to agree with you.
Right.
Okay? Because a lot of you are stupid. It's just the truth.
If
you want the legal ability to change the gender of a child before they can make the adult decisions themselves, you're a fucking idiot. And you should be stoned. Because, and this has nothing to do with gender reassignment. I don't have a problem with that. I'm 18. I can make a decision and I feel like a woman. Cool. All right. It's fine. This has to do with you're making that decision for a child and taking away their choice on the decision. And that's ridiculous. Okay? See how I offset the seriousness with fart noises? I kind of like this part of the podcast now. I'm going to say something real straightforward with you. Listen, if you're a pedophile, death penalty.
This is a great way to handle that. Who was I? I was just speaking to someone about this. Okay. All right. How do I put this? Okay. So starting with Gen Xers, let's say. Okay. Yes. Starting with Gen Xers, there was a failure to launch. Okay. And what I mean was not necessarily that there was a shortage of people finding their own success, just people not wanting to adult. Okay. And I get it. We all get to the point in life where if you've had any responsibility, you just start going like, I'm sick of making decisions. I want someone else to make a choice. Right.
Yeah, that was me yesterday. It happens.
Right. Part of me is starting to think that the idea of waiting and letting the child choose their life for themselves might be attached to this continuing desire to abdicate responsibility. If
all right,
right,
I got you. Yeah.
Okay, so if you make the decision that you're going to raise a child, right, you have a mountain of responsibility.
Right.
And you have to make a deliberate effort to try to raise that child in your perceived best way.
Right.
So in my opinion,
you just found the problem in that though.
Right. So in my opinion,
in your perceived best way, which means unfortunately you're letting stupid people make the decisions, which creates more stupid people.
So I don't even remember where it was, but it might be in a couple of places, but there's a scripture floating around out there that makes the point that you're better off being hot or cold than lukewarm. that if you're lukewarm, you're worse off than making a bad decision. You're better off as a parent saying, this is the way I'm going to raise my child. This is how I'm going to do it. And even if you're wrong, that's still better than, well, I'm going to let this child dictate their own life.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Because
don't
at
understand.
least,
Here's me. I don't understand why
yeah,
people are having so much trouble with this. And this is one
right,
of those things where you really saw it come to fruition when people were homeschooling their kids and they couldn't help their kids with their homework.
oh yeah,
And we're talking about children and young children's homework. And these people were like, I can't do this. I don't know this. Right. Which indicates you're not smart enough to raise a child. Yeah, I'm not saying
oh,
my child's taking calculus and I don't know calculus. I'm not. Yeah, I get it. But you're having trouble helping your 10-year-old with their homework? Maybe you both should be taking the same classes.
right,
And you're supposed to prepare this child to be an adult, and it sounds like you can't prepare yourself to be an adult.
right.
And then people are like, well, I don't understand why these 22-year-olds, they can't get out on their own and do anything. Well, because their parents never taught them about bills, and their parents
Right.
never taught them about taxes, and they never taught them about responsibility in any way whatsoever. And then but then they blame the kid, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I
It
I
is
I
ridiculous.
I don't get it. Raising a child is not hard. Oh, let me let me let me stop right there,
Frame it. Hit me.
because this is something that drives my wife up the wall. Raising a child is not hard if
Mhm,
one of you focuses on working and the other one focuses on staying at home and raising a normal kid.
mhm.
Raising a child is hard if you extend yourself to the point where you both have to work because you think that's in the best interest of the child, and in reality, you really get no time with the child. And I know that some people have to do that. I get that. But at least one of you has to take the responsibility of being an adult into the child. And when neither one of you are there to do it, don't be surprised when your child turns out to be a slacker and has no idea what they're doing, because you were busy both working so hard to create the environment you think they should have. Your child doesn't need a bunch of expensive shit. Your child doesn't need a brand new car when they're 16. Your child needs an adult at home to teach them how to be an adult.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm
Yes.
sorry if that pisses some people off, but it's the truth. And that's the reason you're ending up with kids like this. And you're going to say, well, it's the economy, it's the way things work. No, it's not. You can make it work. Sutherland,
Mhm.
I make it work, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I do. Because I wanted to make sure that my wife was at home with our children to raise them as acceptable, normal, non shitbag human beings. So I work 2 jobs to make that happen. I don't have to, but I choose to do that so we can also have 2 cars and an 1,800 square foot house. You can make it work.
Mhm.
So when it
You
comes
can.
down to, I don't understand why my children weren't successful, it is because you weren't successful. You
Bam.
made the wrong decisions. You suck. Thanks
Bah.
for contributing to the giant, massive pile of stupidity I have to deal with every day. I think you should be clinically snipped and have to pass a test before you're allowed to breed again. Screw you.
Bah.
Oh, it's so hard. You're getting like
Ah,
$250 per month per kid now, you piece of garbage. It's not hard.
I uh I second that. Uh to be fair, the single income situation itself was working just fine in my world over here too. The person that I was with could not conceptualize the idea of teamwork. That this is my part, this is your part. Let's work it out and make it happen. And made the worst possible decisions to deal with that. And therefore, things fell apart. But the fact still remains that with the slightest shift of being able to communicate better and being able to accept responsibilities better, that would have worked just fine.
Absolutely. And one person would have been home with the children to ensure that when they turned 18, they weren't complete failures.
Yes. So in the long run, I determined that I would need to make more money real soon, real quick. And that's kind of what got me going, like got me much more motivated to move forward into nursing. And it requires a substantial amount of risk because I'm, of course, not some kid straight out of high school living with my parents while I pay for this college.
Right.
I'm cobbling together every resource possible to be able to do that. But on the other end,
which is astounding to me because this is the weird part. This is the healthcare job market, okay? And when I say healthcare job market, I don't mean medical assistant. We're going to talk about LPN and above. All right? We're going to talk about LPN all the way up to PA, just short of doctor, because we're talking anywhere between 4 and 6 years of school there, right?
Right.
I mean, honestly, you could do PA in 4 if you hate yourself and all you want to do is schoolwork.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So let's talk about that market. It's a weird market because there's actually only 3 types of people in it. There are people who do still live at home that can afford to do it and can actually be a nurse at the age of 20.
Mm-hmm.
There are mid 30-year-old single moms with lots of tattoos that are just trying to get their life back together.
Yep.
And then there's you.
Yeah.
Like that is that market. It's either I live at home and I can do it myself, or I live with my mother after my failed marriage and she takes care of my 2 kids while I go to school and I don't need no man. This is the podcast episode that's going to piss a lot of people off. But I can guarantee you can tell me by the type of people in your class that's true.
Pretty fair.
Okay. It's the majority. There are not a whole lot of dudes who are in their late 30s who are like, I'm going to become a nurse.
Let me refine this to the demographics of my classmates, which if any of them are listening, I love you all. You're amazing people. Please don't get offended by anything. Okay. So we've got groups of people who are looking to advance themselves who have this support of a spouse.
Fantastic.
Which is really cool because that's, first off, a lot of relationships do not survive nursing school. And secondly, that's what relationships have got to do. You got to be there for each other, right? Okay.
Right.
So
the other problem is you get a spouse going to nursing school and everybody's wearing those snug scrubs and eventually somebody's going to start dipping pens in company ink.
It's not the scrubs that do it. Probably more the bunches of physical assessments on each other.
All right. Oh, let me repeat it. Oh, let me check for priapism again.
Yeah. So there are a lot of like married folks in relationships working through this together. Like I say, I got a lot of respect for that because the relationships that survive that are strong relationships, and they're doing what. There's a cat pooping in my yard right now. But anyway, they're doing what relationships should be doing. Yeah, no, I would pick up the computer and show you, but I don't think it'll come through the podcast. There's gray cats dumping in my yard right now. All right.
So bad. I want a soundboard so bad.
So yeah, and then you do have some young single people just working their way through. Like we have one young lady in our cohort who's like 19. I got mad respect for her, like pushing through this hard of a cohort at that young age
Hell
because
yeah, I respect anybody who wants burnout by the time they're 40.
yeah, she's gonna be salty
She's
real
gonna be
fast. And good for
salty
her.
as shit, dude.
Yeah,
The 60-year-old nurse who's been at it for 40 years, but drives a
right.
Mercedes because she's earned more money than the doctor she works for and
Uh-huh.
doesn't give a shit.
Oh. So those kind of lump in with your traditional college students. We got a lot of broheims. They're doing their thing. Okay. So you got your spousal team,
Just
you
want to
got
help
your
people,
you got your spousal teams, you've got your traditional college students, and there are not a whole lot of people like myself.
No.
There are not a whole lot of like the single parents like paying a pile of bills while they do this too.
Which surprises me because every nurse practitioner I've ever been to became a nurse practitioner as a single parent.
Okay.
I have had 3 nurse practitioners all tell me that I can lose weight even though they were obese themselves. And when I say I'm just really busy, it's hard for me to find the time, they tell me, you can find the time. I got my nursing degree being a single parent. And I go, how though?
It's totally possible. I'm shaking my head at the hypocrisy of it. You cannot point at another person and say you can find the time. It's kind of a straw man argument. You can't say you can find the time to lose weight because I found the time to finish my degree. You should have turned around and said, "So why aren't you finding the time now to lose weight yourself?"
Right. You weigh
How's
more
that
than
not
me.
working? Okay. I hope that someone downloads the audio version of this episode because it is brilliant. Speaking of, okay. Speaking of interactions with healthcare workers. Okay, I screwed myself today. So this is finals week, but my hardest finals are out of the way as of last week.
Continue.
This week I just have a couple of finals. Now, as a result, of course, my clinic is super short staffed. So they asked me to help out a couple of days this week, to which I say, sure, okay, I can help a couple of days. I agreed to this today, not realizing that I had an exam to do today.
Oh,
So guess what I was doing on my lunch break?
your exam.
It was great. So, of course, I'm talking to my patients about my plight. And so
I'm sorry, I'll stop. I'll stop.
Shawn,
It's funny though.
it is hilarious.
Funny to me.
I want you to know, Shawn, Jesus is watching you all the time. Okay. So I'm telling my patients about this. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get my exams for my lunch break, right? So I come back, and one of my patients was like, "Well, how did you do?" Okay, we don't get the points right away,
Right.
but we can see it reflecting in our grade. And so I went from a B to a B minus after rushing an exam at a lunch break. Imagine that, right? And I told him, I said, I couldn't have done that great because I went from a B to a B minus. And he's like, oh, that sucks. And I'm like, but how many times have you gone to the hospital and like stopped your nurse and being like, pardon me, before we move forward, I need to know what your grade was in nursing fundamentals
Right.
382.
Right. Before you check my prostate, what I need to know is, did you get a B or a B minus?
I need I only want the doctor to send me nurses who got an A in pharmacology. I don't want any of these C pharmacology students handing me my Tylenol.
Sir, are you where your doctor barely got through medical school?
Barely. Seriously. And credit where credit's due. Okay, pharmacology sucks. And I may have said this before, but I'm going to say it again. For any baby nurses out there going through pharmacology, I'm apologizing for how hard it is, in addition to the mountain of people who say, oh, pharmacology is just really hard. It's not just you.
Thank you.
That's right. It's like sitting there in prison and being like, this is really hard. And someone's like, yeah, I was in prison once. It was really hard then, too. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Do you have any constructive things you can give me? What are you guys focusing mainly on pharmacology? Are you just memorizing and regurgitating?
Okay. Credit where credit's due. So, some of their questions really do require some good critical thought. And it isn't, thank goodness it's not really the algorithmic thing. They do make us think about our meds. The real problem to the pharmacology, it's a good course, but it's like cardiac drugs 1 week, and then pulmonary drugs the next week, and then your immunology drugs the next week, and then cancer drugs the next week, and then boom, 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 boom.
So
and
I mean, but what are they focusing mainly on? Like contraindication or like?
Well, the works. So for example, sometimes we had to write concept maps of our drugs, where we had to write out all the contraindications, indications, side effects, mechanisms of actions, nursing implications, patient education, et cetera, right?
So it's
that was one.
it's what we did as whiskeys on steroids, though. Like take that list of that 3 pages of combat medications and make it 300.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, we could get really deep with our medications, our friggin' Mark 1 kits, our everything.
You and I could, but most
yes. Well, yes. Anyone who actually studied it, because I mean, our pharmacopoeia for medic work was this.
Right.
And even when I was the only medic on a seaworthy vessel, I mean, my pharmacopoeia went to that, and I could manage that, you know? So now it goes to all that.
Right.
In a shorter period of time that you and I became medics.
Right. See, that's the problem, I think. That's what's definitely making it difficult for you, is because it's not that you can't absorb this knowledge.
Right.
It's that it's really hard to absorb that much knowledge in such a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So
okay. So where I was going with this was, one of the officers I worked with, bless his heart, he was the one to actually do the nice thing and say, I actually failed pharmacology my first try at it. And now he's a CRNA.
Right.
So that's encouraging when you see someone successful. And so, when I was staring down the barrel of failing pharmacology, I was like, okay, I can still get through this. This can still happen. Damn, Shawn, we're like hard out of time, yo.
I was about to ask you, has it been an hour?
I think we're like beaten on the hour. So I'm gonna give you a nice love you.
Love you.
And give us a good fart sound before we go.
I'm gonna try. Wait. No. Ah, there we go.
All right, good night, Shawn.
Good night, Dave.
Boop.
Beep. Boop. Boop it.